Hey guys, welcome to another episode of our Heffe Shop. This week, we get another Volkswagen. So this is Luke's Mark III Vento. So everywhere else in the world, it's known as a Jetta or a Borer. I think the Borers are the Mark IVs in Australia, but anyway. So it is a base model, which is all we got here. So it's the 2 litre 4-cylinder, I believe. It's manual, at least, but that's about all there is to it. Beige interior, maroon outside. So just going into the inside here, got a Mark III Golf, pretty much. So the only difference is the boot, and the front end's a little bit different. So the lights are a bit square and stuff like that. So I don't really know much about these cars, but I'm trying to fill you in with what I do know. So beige interior in these ones. So Luke wants the black stuff, which we might do now, we might do later. We'll at least swap the door cards and probably the seats, but we'll see how we get on. So coming around to the back, we've got the little boot, which the Golf never had, obviously, because they were hatchbacks. It's got a bit of a lip kit on it already, but we'll try and use the Golf side skirts and front lip if they're a little bit bigger. And then it's got some random wheels on it that Luke is going to get rid of down the track. So obviously we're going to be swapping the stud pattern, the brakes, the wheels, the engine, transmission, then the rear brakes, the rear axle and beam, and then down the road we'll probably swap over the interior and a few other bits and pieces. So coming into the engine bay, this is the 2 litre 4-cylinder, might be a 1.8, I'm not 100% sure, but you can see there's a lot more room than in the VR6 Golf. So there's no ABS, so there's a huge pump down there on the Mark III for the ABS, this one doesn't have it, and then there's another bunch of cylinders on this side which this one doesn't have. So there's actually a lot more room than the other one. So I believe this will be pretty easy to pull out, the engine and everything. I'm not 100% sure how easy it's going to be to fit the new one in, but I'm sure I can pull it apart. So we'll get on with it when it's not 38 degrees like it is today. I was planning to do some stuff, but it's way too hot. So just a quick look at that. So this thing does run and drive. So if you do need that engine or gearbox, let us know, because it will be for sale or getting scrapped, depending if anyone needs it. That's about it really. I can't show you a whole lot. I'll drive it into the shed and that'll be where we start pulling it apart. So I'm going to probably start pulling apart the rear axle first, because that's a sort of a pretty simple job to do. So I'll drop this axle, I'm going to have to take the shifter box out, put the new one in, take the exhaust out, put the new one in, the new rear axle back in as well, swap the brakes over and stuff. Then I can get it back on the ground and then get the front up in the air, take the whole front end out, and then slide the VR6 in once I've done the firewall stuff, and then go from there. Alright, so I was just giving the shed a quick brush and moved all my stuff out of the way. Got the engine onto the forklift instead of the engine crane. Got the rear axle and stuff over there. So I fixed the forklift. It had the limit switch, or the back cover, like the safety switch, that snapped a wire, so I managed to fix that. So that's all working wicked now. So it was working when we last used it, but then I went to use it again and it stopped working. So it was just that wire snapped in half. So I've got the jack stands and stuff, everything ready to bring in the Volkswagen. So I was going to drive this, but it's like 38 degrees today and absolutely horrible. So I'm just going to drive it in the shed and that'll be good enough. So I need to get a mop so I can clean this properly. This should come back to how it was when I first did it. I just need to get a mop, but it's a later problem. So let's drive this thing. Okay, so Luke drove this here, so we should have no issues actually starting it. So I'm going to put it in bum first against the Model A, so I can wash the engine bay and also pull out the rear axle and the stuff underneath. So let's try and do that now. So I realised when I was backing it into the shed that I need to clean the engine bay. So before I put the rear axle in, I'm going to have to swap the shifter box and the exhaust. So they need to come out after that axle's out, so then I won't be able to move the car. So instead of putting it half in the driveway like I was going to, I'll wash the engine bay out here, put it in the shed properly, and then start on the back end. It's pretty gross. So that looks a whole lot better. So the reason I'm doing this is so I don't get absolutely covered in mess like I did when I pulled apart the VR6. So it's literally just to make my life easier. and of course this is the better car, so if we get it out and I've already pressured to wash the engine bay, then it's only a little bit of cleanup instead of doing all of it. So hopefully this makes life a little bit easier, and it also looks better when we try and advertise the motor for sale. Alright, so I got the car into the shed, and funnily enough the cleaning of the engine bay has stopped it from running. So that's not unexpected at all, being dizzy, probably filled it with water, so good thing it's coming out. This engine also leaks like a sieve, and we're not sure where from, but it's in the shed. It was a huge pain in the ass to get it up the concrete lip, but I managed to use the starter motor and pushing and pulling and using a jack, and we got it in here. So that took quite a long time. So Em's on her way home from work, and she's actually going to stop and get me a mop, so I don't want to stop this thing from moving, so I'm going to be able to mop this, roll the car forwards, mop behind it. So I'm going to put that off for a little bit, and I'm going to start on the front end. So I'm going to take the headlights out, the grille out, probably the bumper off, and just sort of start on the engine bay end because it can stay rolling. And then when Em gets here, I'll mop everything, roll it forwards, and if I've got time, I'll start on the back. Alright, so the front end's off. It's heaps easier the second time around. So aircon lines, top and bottom radiator hose, which I left the bottom one until the whole thing was tilted forwards. And then one AC line down here, and a couple of plugs on that side, headlights and stuff. And then the whole thing slides forwards and then comes off. So heaps easier than the previous one. But now we're going to do the rest of this. But I don't want to start on the front, I want to start on the back. So I'm going to leave it here until I get the mop, which will be probably another 10 minutes or so, and then I'll mop up, roll the car forwards, mop the back, and then try and jump under the back and get the rear axle out. Alright, so Em got home, got a mop bucket, mopped everything up, then got the Jetta on some jack stands, took the 4-stud wheels off. So the last time I was going to be rolling on 4-stud. So I'm going to leave it there for tonight and go inside, but at least when I come out here, when I got some more time, I can just take the rear axle out, put the new one in, change it to 5-stud, and then we can start on the front. Alright, so the other day was 38 degrees. Yesterday I had work, but I managed to get the rear axle out. Today it's nice and cool, and I got the day off. So I'm going to try and put the new rear axle in, and that involves the shifter box, the exhaust, and the under trays and stuff. And then if I get enough time, I'm going to pull the engine out and clean the engine bay. So wish us luck. Alright, so here we have the 4-cylinder rear axle. So it looks very much the same, but apparently the brakes are different, and the stud pattern's obviously different. So then that one, and then coming over to the 5-stud. The brakes probably look the same actually, but the stud pattern's different anyway, so let's swap it over. And I need to do the exhaust and the shifter box anyway, so both of those things have to come out, and it's easier if I take that out. So I need to get under there and get the shifter box out, get the exhaust out, and put the new ones in. Alright, so I've just got the shifter box and the exhaust out. The shifter box is a little bit different to the one that I pulled out. So the shifter box is just there, hanging from the tunnel. So it's a little bit different to the other one, I think. So this one's a linkage and the other one's cable, so I'll have to swap that over. And then the exhaust can go back in, and then the rear axle. But it's all proving a little bit tricky at the moment, so we'll see how we go. So I just got the Mark III Golf exhaust under the Vento, and we have a slight problem. I did think this was going to happen, but that's where it finishes, and that's the back of the car. So all the mounts line up and everything, and the middle muffler is actually a lot bigger. So the 2 litre didn't make as much noise, so they put a smaller muffler in the middle. This one's about the same, but this one's a twin tip. And then the VR6 has a massive muffler, and sorry, the twin tip. So I'm going to put the Vento exhaust back on, which is a single tip and comes out the back of the car rather than stopping there, and has the smaller muffler in the middle. So it'll be a little bit louder, which is what Luke wants anyway. but it's going to be a lot easier than trying to extend this right now. He wants to do the exhaust anyway later, so we'll just swap it all over and put that one in. Alright, so we got the 4-cylinder exhaust back under the car, all new rubber mounts from, well, the best of the two. Put the O2 sensor from the VR6 in and got it all back in there, and it comes out the back of the car again. So the front does line up as well, but we have to pull that engine out obviously. So now it's time to move on to the rear axle. So that's the old one I pulled out, that's the new one. So I'll put them side by side, change everything over, make sure it's all complete and the best of the best is on the good one, and then put it all back in the car. So just interrupting this video to tell you about my Patreon. So I've started up a Patreon account. It is El Heffe Shop, of course. It's in the description. And if you'd like to join, that'd be great. If not, that's also fine. So it'll get you access to a week's earlier content, and you can talk to me, and you can get a shout out and all that sort of stuff. So check it out. If you don't want to do it, that's cool. If you do want to do it, that'd be great. You're helping the channel. So if not, that's fine. The next thing is stickers. So Emily and I bought a sticker machine. You can't even see this at all. We bought a sticker machine, and we've been making El Heffe Shop stickers. So here's one of the smaller stickers on my computer. We can do a bit bigger if you'd like, but these ones are about 20 centimeters wide. So if you want one of those, inbox me on Instagram and I'll sort you out from there. They're $5 each. So if you buy a sticker, that'd be great. It'll go straight back into the channel, and I'll be investing it into the projects and the shed. So if you could do that, that'd be awesome. If you don't want to, that's also fine. Alright, so I just did the other side and it was a nightmare because the fuel tank's in the way. This side is in and the exhaust is kind of in the way, but we might be right. And then this is the old coilover. So these were very cheap, like $300 a set, and these were about $1,300 a set, and they're much nicer. They're BCs. So I'm just going to get that bottom bolt in, adjust the height just roughly. I'll match the other side that I had to pull apart, put the wheel on, and I'm done with the underneath. So it can roll on 5 studs for the first time, which will be pretty cool. So let's get that bolt in. So I just let the car down. It's quite a lot higher than it was when I got here. I'll let Luke sort out ride height, but it will definitely be lower than that, I think. So now I need to let the front down, clean the floor over here, and then roll the whole thing back, and then start pulling out the 2-litre 4-cylinder. And we got it out. So it didn't really take that long. It's probably about an hour of disconnecting everything and 20 or so minutes to actually pull it out, and then probably an hour or so to take the front off. It's a lot easier when you're done it the second time, when you know where everything is and what you do need to disconnect and what you don't. But we've now got an engine bay that's relatively empty. So I'm going to try and leave all this stuff because a lot of it's the same as what came out of the Golf. I did cut the O2 sensor off of the Vento, so I have to disconnect that. And they're the new shifter cables from the shifter I put in, and you can see the heat shields back on and everything as well. So there is a few things I need to remove in here. There's a coil up here, needs to go. There's a brake master booster thingy, probably have to go. And then I don't know what to do about the wiring because I'm not 100% sure which bits we need to keep. But there's a pretty easy definition of wiring over there and wiring over here, which is pretty good. Probably runs around the top though, so I have to have a look at that. So Luke will be here in about 2 hours or something like that, and he's going to clean it all up, and I'll start removing stuff and then he can clean it up. And then we've got to put this engine on the back of the truck, and that engine I've got to dig out because I've put it in a really horrible spot, and then start cleaning that up. And we're going to do a bit of preventative maintenance on that, just spark plugs and a service and engine mounts and stuff, and then put all of that into here. So that's probably it for this week. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week.